Where'd you get this car, boy? A Mercedes like this? Guys like you can't scrape together the down payment, much less buy the whole damn thing. Officer Daniel Keene's flashlight slices through the icy December darkness, bouncing off scattered patches of frost. Far off, Christmas lights blink on quiet suburban roofs. "Officer, I'm a physician," Elias says, voice tight. "I have an emergency. I need to get to my hospital now." "A doctor, huh?" Keene barks a laugh, spits near the front tire. "Sure, and I'm Santa Claus. Out of the car, now." The dash camera drinks in everything. Red and blue light wash over the frozen shoulder of the interstate. It's 11:47 p.m. on I-85. Inside the Mercedes, Dr. Elias Monroe sits in navy scrubs, hospital clog still on. His phone vibrates again. Emergency line flashes on the screen. His fingers tremble around the wheel. Keene wraps his flashlight against the glass. Metal on glass. "Hard! Harder! I said out, boy! Or you want me to drag you?" What he doesn't realize, the woman fading on an operating table across town will make him choke on every word. 6 hours earlier, the corridors of Memorial Grace Hospital carry the smell of antiseptic, coffee, and something else Elias still believes in, even after 2 decades. Hope. 30 p.m., Elias walks past the cardiology wing. His navy scrubs are crisp, his white coat freshly pressed, his name embroidered in calm blue thread. A nurse lifts a hand from the central station. "Evening, Dr. Monroe." He returns the smile, nods, his footsteps echoing along polished tile. In the cardiac ICU, a family huddles together. The mother grips a shredded tissue. Their daughter, 27, sleeps behind glass, chest gently rising. "Dr. Monroe, thank you for saving our girl." The father's handshake is fierce, desperate gratitude poured into skin and bone. Elias squeezes back. "She's strong," he says. "Barring surprises, she'll recover fully." This is the curriculum no lecture hall ever covered. The gratitude that leaves people speechless. The tears that stain your coat. The exhausted laughter when monitors finally show safety instead of chaos. 18-hour days feel lighter in these brief victories. He's been doing this in 22 years now. Harvard Medical School, class of 2001, chief of cardiothoracic surgery since 2016, more than 2,600 operations behind him. His hands have restarted hearts that had quietly surrendered. A trail of residents shadows him on evening rounds. Dr. Lena Cho asks about a patient's ejection fraction. Elias answers slowly, deliberately, never condescending. Teaching, he thinks, is another kind of surgery. Finding confusion, cutting it away carefully. He lifts his hands, sketching invisible ventricles and scarred valves in the air. Think of it like plumbing, he tells them. Find the leak, fix the leak, restore the flow. They chuckle, scribbling notes. Near the elevators, the hospital administrator intercepts him. "Elias, that transplant last month, the Journal of Cardiac Medicine wants a feature." "Tell them I'll look at the draft over the weekend," he replies. He doesn't chase headlines. He chases pulses. He doesn't do it for the commendations framed on his office wall. He remembers a 14-year-old in West Baltimore whispering, "I've never seen a black heart surgeon before." The boy's wonder cut deeper than any scalpel. That memory still rides with him on long nights. Representation isn't a slogan to Elias, it's a responsibility. Proof standing in front of an operating table, that possibility can look like him. 15 p.m., he changes in the physician locker room. Scrubs swapped for jeans, a gray sweater, worn leather boots. December in Atlanta is moody. Tonight, The air bites. Christmas sits 8 days away on the calendar. His phone lights with messages from his wife, Laura. Maya wants help with her science fair board. Jordan's asking about the Hawks game. He texts back, "Home in 20. Save me some dessert." His Mercedes waits in the physician garage. Level 3, spot 49. His name stamped on the sign. The medical bag lives in the trunk, always packed. Stethoscope, portable monitor, emergency meds, sterile gloves. From the rearview mirror dangles his hospital ID. Memorial Grace Hospital, Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery. Elias J. Monroe, MD, fax. The badge swings slightly when he closes the door, a quiet reminder of why he's never really off duty. Home is a brick colonial in Buckhead that Laura practically drew into existence. Clean lines, tall windows, a wide front porch currently wrapped in white lights. The Christmas tree glows in the front room, silver ornaments catching the soft light. Maya, 14, meets him at the door, braid swinging. "Dad, come see my volcano prototype!" Jordan, 11, sprints from the kitchen in a worn Hawks jersey, already talking stats. They eat together at the scarred wooden table. Spaghetti, garlic bread, a salad Maya insisted on making herself. She raves about chemistry class. Jordan argues quarterbacks and bad coaching decisions. Laura vents about a client who wants to move a load-bearing wall for better vibes. Elias listens, jokes, nudges them back toward homework. He reviews Maya's slides on tectonic plates, adjusts a heading here, a graphic there, proud of how sharp she is. 45 p.m. He's stretched on Jordan's bed, reading a chapter of a fantasy novel about demigods and monsters. The boy's eyelids droop halfway through a battle scene. Elias tucks the blanket around him, kisses his forehead, whispers, "Lights out, champ." At 11:20, he crawls into his own bed. Laura curls against his shoulder. "You on call tonight?" she murmurs. "Yeah," he answers. It's been quiet so far. His phone waits on the nightstand, ringer loud. At 11:32 p.m., it erupts. He answers before the second ring. "Dr. Monroe." Naomi Blake's voice slices through, tight with urgency. "Elias, we have a crisis. Female 56, massive cardiac event, acute coronary dissection. She's coding. We need you now." He's already sitting up, feet on the floor. Vitals? Blood pressure free-falling, 80/40. "She won't survive a transfer. You're the only surgeon on call." He drags on jeans, the sweater, scrubs still underneath, phone wedged between ear and shoulder. "I'm 23 miles out," he says. 18 minutes if traffic stays clear. "Elias, hurry! We are barely keeping her with us." He leans over, kisses Laura quickly. "Be safe," she whispers. Always the same words. At 11:35 p.m., he's in the driveway, engine roaring to life, the cold hitting him like a slap. The streets are mostly empty, Atlanta finally exhaling after a long day. Interstate 85 North opens ahead of him like a promise. The speedometer climbs, 65, 70, 75. His phone rings again. Naomi. "Elias, she's crashing. We're doing manual compressions. Where are you?" 15 minutes, maybe less. She doesn't have 15. He presses the accelerator harder, knuckles white. 81. Neighborhoods blur by, Christmas lights twinkling in distant cul-de-sacs. His mind runs the procedure automatically. Coronary dissection, a tear in the artery wall. Catastrophic. Needs immediate repair before the vessel blows apart. Every minute increases the odds of brain damage, organ failure, permanent loss. The GPS shows 12 miles to the hospital exit. He can almost see the towers. When red and blue bloom in his rearview mirror, his stomach drops. Speedometer, 81 in a 65, 16 over, a costly 16. He does the math fast. If he stops, explains, shows credentials, maybe he loses 2 minutes, 3 at most, then he's back on the road. He signals, eases onto the shoulder. Gravel crunches under the tires. The cruiser's spotlight floods his rear window. Elias flips on his interior light, puts both hands on the wheel at 10 and 2. His father drilled it in at 16. You will get stopped. Stay alive. He'd been right. In 20 years of driving, Elias has counted 14 stops. His white colleagues, as far as he knows, maybe 2 ever. The patrol car doors open. Heavy boots thud against asphalt. 2 officers approach, one at each side of the Mercedes. Elias lowers the window before they arrive. December air knives into the cabin. A flashlight beam slams into his face. He squints, but his hands stay glued in place. Well, look at that! The cop on the driver's side drawls. Another one of you who thinks the speed limit's optional. Where'd you steal this ride, boy? Mercedes like this? People like you can't afford the rims. Elias feels his jaw tighten, but his tone stays even. Officer, I'm Dr. Elias Monroe, Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery at Memorial Grace. I have a critical patient. I need to reach the OR immediately. A doctor. Keen laughs, a harsh, flat sound. And I'm the Easter Bunny. License and registration. Now. The flashlight taps the window once, then again, louder each time, metal against glass like a warning. Elias moves slowly, narrating every gesture. I'm reaching for my registration in the glove box, officer. I can see what you're doing. Move it! His hands stay deliberate, measured, despite adrenaline roaring in his ears. He retrieves the documents and offers them through the open window. Driver's license, registration, insurance card, all current, all clean. Keen scans them with his beam. Elias J. Monroe. Buckhead address. Real fancy, huh? He looks up, eyes crawling over Elias's face like he's searching for a crack. So how'd you swing Buckhead, Doc? Lottery ticket? Drug money? Little side rap career? I should know about, huh? Superstar? I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon, Elias answers. I earn my living fixing hearts, not breaking laws. He nods toward the ID badge hanging from the mirror, his photo beside his title and clearance level. Keen doesn't bother looking. Anyone can order a fake badge online these days, he says. His gaze slides over the car again, seeing criminal instead of clinician, threat instead of the man who left a warm bed to save someone. Elias's phone buzzes on the passenger seat, screen lighting the dark cabin. Emergency line. Naomi's name. Officer, that's my surgical team. I need to answer. You don't move a muscle unless I tell you, Keen snaps. The second officer, a younger blonde woman, her tag reads heart, leans toward the passenger window. She spots the stethoscope, the textbooks, the hospital parking placard. Daniel, she murmurs. His stuff looks legit. I'll decide what's legit. Heart? Keen walks back to his cruiser with Elias's documents, moving like he has all night. Elias watches the dash clock. 11:48 p.m. 1 minute gone. His phone buzzes again and again. In the patrol car, the computer spits out the obvious: valid license, no warrants, no priors. Vehicle registered to Elias J. Monroe. Everything green. Still, Keen lingers. 4 minutes slide past. 5. 6. Everyone. A pulse slipping away. The phone finally tips into a full-on ring, vibrating against the leather. The sound fills the quiet car. Naomi's voice bleeds out through the speaker. Elias, where are you? She's in V-fib. We're losing her. Through the windshield, Elias sees Keen climb out of the cruiser at last, moving with deliberate slowness. 7 minutes now. 7 minutes that woman does not have. Keen stops at the window. Step out of the vehicle. Officer, please, Elias says. You have my license, my registration. Everything checks out. I have a woman in cardiac arrest waiting on me. I need to get to her. I said step out or I drag you out. Keen replies, voice dropping colder. Officer Hart shifts to the passenger side, hand resting near her holster, eyes flicking between them. The interstate hums as cars slide by, slowing to look, then speeding away. Elias unbuckles slowly, opens the door, and steps into the bitter air. He stands 6'2", taller than Keen by several inches. But the gun and badge tilt everything. Hands where I can see them. Elias lifts them, palms open. Jeans, pullover sweater, scrub pants visible under the hem. Keen's flashlight drags down his body. So what are you really, boy? Dealer. Pimp. Dressed like a janitor and driving a Benz. Doesn't track. I told you I'm a surgeon, Elias repeats. I was home when the hospital called. Didn't exactly have time to dress for you. Sure. Keen steps closer, crowding his space. Here's what I think. I think this car's stolen. Those credentials are bogus, and you've got product in the trunk. Officer Keen, please call Memorial Grace. Mainline. Ask for Dr. Naomi Blake. She'll confirm everything in 30 seconds. Oh, we're begging now, Keen sneers. You should have thought about that before you decided the rules didn't apply. A sedan slows in the right lane, then pulls onto the shoulder 50 yards ahead. A middle-aged white man in a suit steps out, phone already raised. Officer, this seems excessive, he calls. I'm recording. Keen's head snaps around. This is police business. Move along, or I'll hook you for obstruction. The man hesitates, but stays. I'm just observing, the man says. That's my right. Get back in your car now. The lawyer retreats, but doesn't leave, engine idling, phone still aimed at the scene. Keen turns back to Elias, angrier. See what you people cause? Always an audience. Elias's phone rings again inside the Mercedes, the sound sharp in the cold. Keen strides over, reaches through the open window, snatches it up. That's my property, officer. Keen answers without asking. Yeah, the doctor's a little tied up, he drawls. Been a bad boy tonight. He disconnects, tosses the phone onto his cruiser's hood like trash. Elias feels something fracture inside. You just signed a death sentence, he says quietly. Dramatic, aren't we? Keen shrugs. If there's really a patient, somebody else can handle it. I'm the only heart surgeon on call. She has a coronary dissection. She needs me now. Then I guess she picked a lousy night to get sick, Keen replies. Hart shifts her weight, unease written plain on her face. Daniel, maybe we should verify with the hospital, she says. I said I've got it, Hart. Keen stalks to the rear of the car. Pop the trunk. On what basis? Probable cause. I smell marijuana. That's not true. I'm randomly drug tested at work. You calling me a liar, Doc? Elias swallows hard, reaches in to hit the trunk release. The lid lifts. Inside, his medical bag, spare tire, jumper cables, roadside kit. Keen yanks the bag open, pulls out sterile wrapped scalpels, clamps, tubing, weapons, he announces. Hart, document. These weapons, those are surgical instruments, officer. Check the labels. Could still be used as weapons. Hart's beam catches prescription pads with Elias's name, his DEA number, security badges. Daniel, this all looks legitimate. "I said I've got this, Hart," Keene snaps. He slams the trunk and strides to the passenger side, yanking open the door. The glove box pops, spilling patient notes, surgery schedules, confidential charts. "Those are protected under HIPAA," Elias says. "Oh, now you're an attorney too?" Keene snatches up the papers and lets them fly. Pages skid across the shoulder, some catching the wind and spinning toward the highway. The dash clock reads 11:56 p.m. 11 minutes gone. "Officer Keene," Elias says, forcing his voice steady, "I have never begged another man for anything, but I am begging you now. Write every ticket you want. Arrest me later if you must. Just let me get to that operating room first." Keene steps in, close, coffee on his breath. "You think you're better than me, huh? Fancy car, fancy letters. Where'd you really go to school? Community college." "Harvard Medical School, class of 2001, top 10%, Elias replies. "I earned every grade." "Sure you did." Keene's tone drips acid. 12 minutes now. The lawyer's car still idles down the shoulder, phone aimed like a witness that won't blink. Elias's phone buzzes on the cruiser hood, screen flashing nonstop. Hospital emergency, Naomi. Code alerts. The proof is right there, glowing under the strobes, and still somehow means nothing. Keene finally scoops up the phone, studying the screen like evidence. 15 missed calls, then 20 stacked from Memorial Grace. Dozens of urgent texts. "Busy little phone for a fake doctor," he mutters. He scrolls, eyes moving, jaw tightening almost imperceptibly, but his expression never softens. "Officer, those messages prove." "They prove nothing. Anybody can program contacts." He slips the phone into his pocket. "You'll get this back when I'm done with you." Elias's fists curl involuntarily, nails biting his palms. He forces them open, breathe. Don't give him anything he can twist. 15 minutes now. Coronary arteries don't negotiate. "I need to search your vehicle," Keene says, thoroughly. "Hart, get over here." "We already looked in the trunk," she starts. "I said, get over here." She moves, shoulders stiff. Keene yanks open the rear door, hauling out a blanket, ice scraper, reusable grocery bag. He rummages through the bag, finds protein bars and water bottles. He tears one open, sniffs it theatrically. Could be edibles. They're protein bars from Whole Foods, Elias says. Receipts in the bag. Whole Foods, Keene repeats. Fancy. He takes a bite, chews slowly, eyes never leaving Elias. Tastes normal, but you never know with you people. He drops the half-eaten bar in the dirt. The dash clock flips to 11:59 p.m. 16 minutes gone. Keene drags out Elias's gym bag next, unzips it. Workout clothes, deodorant, running shoes, still smelling faintly of rubber and detergent. "You work out, Doc?" He lifts the shoes. "These alone cost what? $300? How's a janitor afford that?" "I'm not a janitor. I'm a surgeon, and I run marathons." Keene drops the shoes, deliberately grinding his heel into the white mesh. Hart flinches. That's destruction of property. "It's a comprehensive search, rookie." He moves to the front, pops the center console. Registration copies, insurance, more hospital credentials, keycard fobs. A photo tucked in the side compartment catches his eye. Laura, Maya, Jordan on a beach, sun in their smiles. "Nice family," Keene says. "They know you're out here lying?" "They know I'm trying to save a life," Elias answers. "Sure." Keene flicks the photo back, face down, then checks visors and floorboards. The display ticks over to 12:02 a.m. 19 minutes. Elias's chest pulls tight, not from fear, but from the helplessness of watching time drain away somewhere He isn't. Officer Keene, please, he says. Every minute we stand here, that woman's chances drop. Her family is waiting. They don't know if she'll survive. I'm the only one who can help her. Then you should have left earlier, Keene replies. Should have stayed at the limit. Law's the law. Or you think you're above it? Context matters, Elias says softly. Humanity matters. Humanity, Keene scoffs. You people always pull that card, always wanting special treatment. Hart steps forward again. Daniel, I really think... Shut up, Hart. One more word and you're written up. She falls back, but this time she pulls out her phone, thumbs moving quickly. 22 minutes now. In Elias's mind, the anonymous woman on that table finally gains a name, Elaine Porter. He pictures her artery wall peeling apart like wet paper, blood forcing itself between layers, starving muscle of oxygen. He sees Naomi and the ER team leaning over her, hands aching from compressions, sweat beating at their temples under harsh fluorescent lights. He imagines a family in a waiting room, fingers intertwined, whispering prayers to any power listening. Hearts don't pause because a cop feels disrespected. Tissue dies on schedule. Keene circles the Mercedes like a shark around something, already bleeding, hand trailing along the paint. Nice ride, Doc. Probably costs more than I make in a year. Drug money buys a lot, huh? I don't sell drugs, Elias snaps. I don't use them. I save lives. I've done thousands of open heart procedures. I've watched hearts restart under my hands. I've watched fathers walk out to hug their kids again. Big talk for a guy on the shoulder, Keene says. Big talk. A woman is dying, Elias answers, voice climbing despite his training. I don't even know her yet. Her favorite song, whether she hates hospital food. But she's a person. She has people who love her. She deserves a chance to live. Everybody deserves to live. Doesn't mean you get to break the law. 22 minutes. Elaine Porter's odds thin further. He pictures Naomi calling for another round of meds, epinephrine buying seconds, not salvation. The dissection widens with each beat, blood pressure cratering, kidneys and brain losing their share. The team shocks Elaine's heart whenever it slips into silence, hoping it remembers its job. In the waiting area, maybe someone clutches a styrofoam cup they forgot to drink from, knuckles white, watching doors that never swing open with good news. Officer Keene, Elias says, finally voice hollow. What do you want from me? What can I possibly say to make you let me go? Want to know what I want? Keene steps in until their breaths almost mingle. I want you to admit you're lying. I want you to confess where this car really came from. And I want some respect. I've shown you nothing but respect, Elias answers. No, you've shown me attitude. Entitlement, Keene continues. You think you're better than me. He jabs a finger into Elias's chest, hard. Say you're sorry. For what? For speeding, for wasting my time, for lying. I'm sorry I sped, Elias says. But I'm not lying. Say you're lying. Elias's jaw locks. I won't lie to inflate your ego. The poke turns into a shove, two-handed, forcing him back a step. That's assault, Hart blurts. He advanced on me. You saw it, right? Hart's face drains of color. She looks from Elias to Keene, words choking. You saw him advance, right? Keene insists. Down the shoulder, the lawyer's phone keeps recording, lens steady. It catches Elias standing with hands raised, clearly not a threat. Keene finally notices him again, fury sparking. I told you to leave. He storms toward the sedan. The driver jumps, starts his engine, peels away. but the footage is already safe. "You see that?" Keene snarls as he walks back. "Now I've got some wannabe hero thinking he knows my job because of you." "I didn't cause any of this," Elias replies. "I'm just trying to get to work." "Work?" Keene almost spits the word. "You don't work. You scam, you lie, you make excuses." Elias closes his eyes briefly, opens them. "I cut people open and put them back together. That's my work." "Get on your knees," Keene says. The words hang in the cold air like smoke. "Excuse me? You said you were begging, so beg on your knees." Hart steps forward, voice shaking. "Daniel, no. This is too far. Stay out of it. I can't. His credentials check out. His story lines up. We verified him. We should let him go." "You questioning my authority?" "I'm questioning your judgment. Then you're getting written up. Effective immediately." Hart's hand goes to her radio. "Maybe we should loop in the captain right now. Let him decide. Put your hand down." "No." She raises the radio. "This stop is being documented. Everything you've done." Keene lunges. They struggle, plastic scraping his vest. The radio hits asphalt, cracks, one side caving in. Elias watches. Horror and a thin thread of hope tangling. 12:07 a.m. now. 24 minutes since he stopped. 29 since Naomi first called. In Keene's pocket, Elias's phone buzzes and buzzes, a trapped insect against fabric. Somewhere inside the hospital, Naomi is still fighting for Elaine. Then fresh headlights wash over the scene from behind the cruiser. Different pattern, different grill. Another police vehicle slows, indicator blinking, then settles on the shoulder. Not a civilian, not highway patrol. A different badge entirely rolling into this mess like an unexpected verdict. The new car's door swings open. A man steps out in a darker uniform, Atlanta Police Department patch on his sleeve, captain's bars flashing in the strobes. He's older, maybe late 50s, gray threaded through close-cropped hair, posture straight as a ruler. His voice carries without shouting. "Officer Keene," he calls, "what in God's name is going on out here?" The question slices sharper than any reprimand Elias could imagine. Up close, the years of the job are carved into his face. Fine lines at the corners of his eyes, deeper grooves bracketing his mouth. Gray dusts his temples, but nothing in his bearing sags. This is a man who's knocked on too many doors after midnight, Elias thinks. The captain's gaze sweeps the scene, the strewn papers, the open doors, Hart's cracked radio, Elias standing with hands raised in the cold. "Officer Keene, I asked you a question," the captain repeats, calm but edged. Keene straightens, shoulders snapping back, the swagger bleeding into something like professionalism. "Sir, routine traffic stop," he says. Driver was doing 81 and a 65, that's 16 over, suspicious behavior after the stop. The subject's been uncooperative. Subject, the word lands heavy. The captain's eyes shift to Elias. Take in the scrubs peeking beneath his jeans. The hospital badge. "What's your name, son?" the captain asks. "Elias Monroe, sir. Cardiothoracic surgeon at Memorial Grace. I was called in for an acute coronary dissection. My patient has been in arrest on and off for over 20 minutes. I've been here instead of operating." He hears his own voice and is surprised it's steady. Hart jumps in. "Captain, his credentials checked out. We ran everything. The calls on his phone are all from the hospital." Keene cuts her off. "With respect, sir, something felt wrong. I smelled marijuana. His story kept changing. He was evasive, became aggressive when I tried to conduct a lawful search." Hart's mouth opens, That's not... The captain holds up a hand. Officer Hart, why is your radio in pieces on the ground? She swallows. Sir, I attempted to document the stop. Officer Keene tried to take it. It fell during the struggle. The captain's jaw tightens. The captain turns back to Elias. Dr. Monroe, are you armed? No, sir. Any drugs or weapons in the vehicle besides your medical equipment? Just surgical tools, supplies, and my personal things. Keene already emptied half of it. The captain glances at the papers strewn along the shoulder, some caught under tire tracks. Those patient charts? Yes, sir. Confidential. HIPAA protected. He exhales slowly, as if pushing down anger he can't yet afford to show. Officer Keene, return the doctor's phone, gather every one of those papers, and close his vehicle, the captain says. Then, if you believe a citation is warranted, you can write it. If you believe a sobriety check is necessary, you can do it right here, right now, in under 2 minutes. We don't drag this out while someone might be dying. Understood? Keene's mouth tightens. Yes, sir, he answers, but the resentment is obvious. Keene digs in his pocket like it pains him, then slaps the phone into Elias's hand. Here, don't touch it unless you're told. The screen is a wall of alerts. Missed calls stacked on missed calls. Texts from Naomi and the charge nurse. Elias's eyes snag on the most recent message. We're barely holding her. ETA? Question marks trail it like a plea. His throat dries. Every second he stands here, her window narrows. The captain steps slightly aside with Elias, lowering his voice. Doctor, if I clear you, how fast can you safely make it to Memorial Grace? 10, maybe 12 minutes, if traffic stays like this, Elias replies. How far out are you? 12 miles to the exit, then less than a mile to the hospital entrance. The captain nods once, mental math visible in the set of his eyes. Hart watches, hope flickering across her face. Keene strides over. Sir, with respect, you're about to let him go without finishing the search. We had probable cause. His story's full of holes. These people lie all the time. The captain's head turns sharply. Watch your language, officer, and remember your dash cam is recording every word, Hart adds quietly. There was also a civilian recording earlier, sir. He left, but not before capturing quite a bit. Keene's face flushes under the flashing lights. Officer Hart, the captain says, eyes never leaving Keene. I want your version, all of it. She swallows. Sir, Dr. Monroe complied with commands. He kept his hands visible, narrated every movement. I never smelled marijuana. He did not advance on Officer Keene. He was shoved. His belongings were tossed on the ground. His shoes were stepped on deliberately. I attempted to report the stop. That's when my radio was damaged. The captain turns back to Elias. Doctor, I need it on record. Are you under the influence of anything? No, sir. Will you submit to a breath test or field sobriety check? Right now. Yes, whatever you need. I'm not asking to skip consequences, he adds. Write every ticket you see fit. Call my chief of staff later. I just need to go open a chest before a heart gives up for good. The captain nods once. Officer Keene, administer a breath test. If it's clean, you'll escort Dr. Monroe to Memorial Grace with lights and siren. Escort? Keene repeats, incredulous. With respect, Captain, that sends the wrong message. The message it sends, the captain says, is that we don't stand between a surgeon and a dying patient because our ego's bruised. You want to debate it further? We can do it in my office with internal affairs present. Keene yanks a breathalyzer from his belt, shoves the mouthpiece toward Elias. Blow until I say stop. Elias does, staring at the sky scattered with stars and flashing light. The device beeps. Keene checks it, jaw clenching. 0.00. The captain arches a brow. Satisfied? Keene swallows whatever he wants to say. Yes, sir. Elias can almost hear seconds dripping away, but for the first time tonight, a path forward glimmers. Here's what's going to happen, the captain says. Keene, you're going to gather those charts and secure them in an evidence envelope so they can be returned properly. Hart, you're going to note the time and everything you observed in detail. When this is over, both of you will report to my office. Dr. Monroe, as soon as Keene is in his car, you will follow him directly. No detours, no stops. We clear? Elias nods, the word yes catching behind his teeth with everything else he wants to say. Thank you, Captain. Don't thank me yet, the man replies. Just get there alive and do your job. Call your team. Let them know you're en route the second you're behind the wheel. The Atlanta police patch on his sleeve flashes in the lights as he turns slightly, still watching Keene scoop up crumpled papers from the asphalt. His voice carries an authority that doesn't need volume. Officer Keene, I asked you a question, he says once more, softer now, but sharper. Keene straightens like a marionette jerked upright. Sir, routine traffic stop, he recites. Subject was traveling 81 in a 65. Subject. The word tastes wrong in Elias's ears. The captain's gaze drifts over, landing on him, on the inky blue scrubs visible beneath his cuffed jeans, on the badge still swinging. The hospital ID badge still swings from the Mercedes rearview mirror, catching the strobes. Gauze packets and syringes lie scattered along the gravel shoulder. Or citizens, Captain Shaw says quietly. He was what, Officer Keene? Subject or citizen? Keene's throat works. Citizen, sir. Shaw's boots crunch over rock as he walks toward Elias. He pauses, stoops, and lifts a crumpled printout from the ground, scanning it under his flashlight's beam. The heading glows in the light. Memorial Grace Hospital, Division of Cardiothoracic Surgery. Chief, Dr. Elias J. Monroe, M.D., fax. Shaw's expression shifts. Something cracks through his professional mask, recognition or dread. He bends again, retrieving the fallen ID badge, wipes grit off the plastic, compares the photo to Elias's face, then back again. Are you Dr. Elias Monroe? He asks. Elias's voice comes out raw, scraped, thin. Yes, sir. The Dr. Monroe? Shaw presses. Chief heart surgeon at Memorial Grace? Yes, sir, Elias repeats. I'm trying to get to an emergency operation. Shaw's already paling, color draining from his cheeks as if someone pulled a plug. What emergency? Female, about 60? Acute aortic dissection called in nearly half an hour ago, Elias says, voice cracking. She's decompensating. I'm the only cardiothoracic surgeon on call tonight. Shaw's hand shakes as he asks, what's the patient's name? I don't know yet, Elias admits. They paged me straight from home. I never made it inside to read her chart. Shaw yanks out his phone, fingers fumbling on the screen as he dials. He turns slightly away, but Elias hears everything. Memorial Grace, ER now. Pause. A long, awful silence follows, stretched thin over the freezing highway air. Dr. Blake, this is Captain Marcus Shaw, Atlanta PD, he says. His voice fractures halfway through his own name. The cardiac emergency. What's the patient's name? Another pause. Longer. Shaw's knees nearly fold. He catches himself against the Mercedes' side mirror. Marilyn Shaw, he repeats. Barely more than breathe. The name lands like a question. like a plea that this is some monstrous coincidence. The phone's tiny speaker carries Naomi's shocked reply. "Captain Shaw? Is that really you?" Naomi asks. "We've been trying to reach you. Your wife's in critical condition. We need Dr. Monroe here immediately. She's coding." The phone slips from Shaw's fingers, clattering onto the asphalt, mercifully unbroken. He stares at Elias like he's seeing a ghost. "That patient," he whispers, voice shredded, "is my wife, Marilyn." For a heartbeat, time simply abandons the scene. Everything goes muffled. Even the highway hum fades. Just the ragged sound of Shaw breathing, the distant pulse of sirens nowhere near. "Sir, I need to go." "Now," Elias says, moving toward his car. Shaw's hand shoots out, gripping his arm with desperate strength. "You stopped him," Shaw chokes, turning on Keene. "You detained the only surgeon who can save her." Keene's complexion drains, suddenly chalky under the lights. "Sir, I didn't know," Keene stammers. "He was speeding, I thought." "You thought what?" Shaw roars, grief detonating into fury. "You thought a black man in scrubs with hospital credentials couldn't possibly be a doctor?" He releases Elias and closes the distance to Keene, nose to nose. "My wife has been dying for half an hour while you played power games on the side of the road." "Captain, I was following procedure," Keene says weakly. "Procedure?" Shaw repeats, voice cracking. "You call this protocol? You racially profiled a decorated surgeon, blocked emergency medical care, and..." He looks around at the scattered instruments, the trampled papers. "You physically detained him while my wife's chest was tearing open." Officer Hart steps forward. "Sir, for the record, I told Officer Keene several times. Dr. Monroe's credentials appeared legitimate. I suggested we confirm his story with memorial grace," Hart continues, voice trembling but clear. "He refused, ordered me to stand down." Shaw stares at her, then gives one sharp nod. "Noted, Officer Hart." He turns back to Keene, hand outstretched, badge and sidearm. "Now, sir, please," Keene protests. "I was just doing my job." "Your job," Shaw snarls, "is to protect and serve, not play judge and executioner." "Your job is to keep citizens safe," Shaw says, voice shaking with rage. "Instead, you nearly killed mine." "I didn't mean hand them over," Shaw growls. Keene fumbles off his badge, unclips his weapon, hands both over with visibly shaking fingers. Shaw faces Elias again, grief carved into every line of his face. "Doctor, take my vehicle," he says. "Sir," Elias starts, but Shaw is already moving. "Take my car," Shaw insists. "I'll clear your route. No one will even think about stopping you." He's jogging toward his unmarked sedan, pulling keys from his pocket. "All units will be notified. You'll have a straight shot." Elias bolts for the captain's vehicle, slides behind the wheel. Shaw is already at his radio, voice barely held together. "All units, stand by for emergency medical escort," he says. His voice tightens. All units, this is Captain Shaw. Black Mercedes, Georgia Tag Delta, Charlie 7842, operated by Dr. Elias Monroe of Memorial Grace. Clear his path. Code 3, priority. Anyone who delays him answers to me." Elias turns the key. The engine roars. Shaw leans into the open window. "Dr. Monroe," he says, voice breaking. "Please, save her. I know what we cost you. What he cost you." Elias meets the captain's eyes. Terror, guilt, and a single fragile strand of hope burn there. "I'll do everything I can, Captain," he promises. "She's all I've got," Shaw whispers. Elias nods once, slams the car into gear. Tires squeal as he rockets onto the interstate. The radio chatters with responding units. "Route's clear, Captain," one voice says. "No traffic ahead." In the mirror, Elias glimpses Shaw turning on Keene like a storm. The captain's finger jabs the air inches from Keene's face. His mouth moves in hard, cutting lines. Elias can't hear over the engine. Then the figures shrink in the distance, swallowed by night. The dash clock reads 12:14 a.m. Now, 32 minutes since Naomi's first desperate call. 32 minutes Marilyn Shaw never had to spare. Memorial Grace's emergency bay blazes ahead like a landing strip. Elias swings the unmarked sedan into the ambulance lane, leaves it running, door hanging open. He sprints through the sliding doors. Naomi meets him midway, already in teal scrubs, mask hooked under her chin. Dark circles bruise her eyes. "Elias, thank God," she says. "We moved her to the OR. She's coded 3 times. They tear through the corridors together, shoes squeaking on linoleum, blasting past vending machines and sleeping visitors. "Vitals," Elias asks, lungs burning, blood pressure 70, over 30, heart rhythm. "Regular as hell," Naomi replies. She's maxed on pressors. "We're losing ground. Move fast." They push through swinging doors into the surgical wing. Elias shoves into the scrub room, water roaring on, hands moving automatically through the ritual. Scrub, rinse, scrub again. 20-plus years of routine compress into frantic seconds as Naomi briefs him above the sink. "Type a dissection. Ascending aorta," she says. "The tear's extensive and propagating. If you'd been here 10 minutes ago, we'd have had better odds." "Team?" Elias asks. "Everybody's scrubbed. Perfusion's ready. Anesthesia's waiting. We've been holding her for you." He rinses one last time, steps backward into the OR. A nurse helps him into gown and gloves. The room buzzes with controlled urgency. Monitors chirp, machines whir, suction hums. On the table, Marilyn Shaw lies draped and prepped, chest sterilized, lines sprouting from her arms. Her skin looks waxy under the lights. Elias studies the monitors in one glance. Pressure, rhythm, oxygenation, all screaming crisis. She's dying on him in real time. "Scalpel," he says. The instrument lands in his hand, cool and familiar, like an old alley. Cutting now, eyes on her pressures. No one breathes deeply. His first incision is confident, unshaking. He opens her chest swiftly, methodically, exposing a heart working overtime against failing plumbing. The operation stretches to 2 hours and nearly 50 minutes. Time loses meaning inside the OR. Marilyn's heart flatlines twice more. Each time Elias shocks it back, voice firm. "Clamp there, suction, I need a cleaner field. Pressure's crashing, increase pressors. 2 more units in, we're close. Hold her steady." His hands move inside her chest with a sculptor's precision, patching the torn aorta, reinforcing fragile tissue, fighting physics and delayed minutes. Every stitch is a rebuttal against what happened on that roadside. At 2:47 a.m., he steps back, sweat cooling on his neck. "Close her," he says quietly. "She's stable enough." The anesthesiologist nods. Blood pressure, 90/60. Rhythm regular. For the first time all night, hope breathes. Elias peels off his gloves and gown, shoulders suddenly heavy. He slips into the scrub room and sinks onto the bench. His hands start shaking now, only now that the crisis abates. The adrenaline that kept him upright drains away. Naomi slides in beside him. "You pulled her back," she says softly. "Barely, but you did it." He thinks of those 32 wasted minutes. How close the scales came to tipping. "She's going to make it, right?" Naomi asks. Elias exhales slowly. If there are no surprises, Marilyn should fully recover, he says. She owes that to you. Naomi squeezes his shoulder. Captain Shaw's in the waiting area, she adds. Hasn't moved since you arrived. Elias stands, feeling every year of his career. His scrubs are streaked with dried blood, Marilyn's blood. He didn't have time to think about that until now. His footsteps drag down the quiet hallway toward the family waiting room. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead, casting everything in weary blue. Shaw sits hunched in a plastic chair, uniform wrinkled, elbows on knees, face in his hands. He looks like he's aged 10 years in 3 hours. When he spots Elias, he lurches to his feet. "Doctor!" he chokes. Elias stops a few paces away, heart still pounding. "Your wife's alive," Elias says. The surgery went well. Barring complications, she should make a full recovery. Shaw's legs buckle and he collapses back into the chair, sobs ripping free. "Thank God," he gasps. "Thank you! Thank you!" Elias drops into the adjacent seat, exhaustion folding around him like a blanket. For a long moment, they just sit. Two men side by side, the hum of vending machines their only audience. "Your wife was incredibly fortunate," Elias says finally. "We caught it in time, just barely." Shaw looks up, eyes shining. "Because of you. Because of my officer," he adds bitterly. "Because of bias." Elias's tone stays low, stripped of heat. "I'm pulled over more than 6 times, as often as my white colleagues," he says. "I get questioned in my own hospital, in my own OR. Parents ask for a different surgeon when they see me. That's my normal." Last night, it intersected with life and death. Shaw wipes his face. "Dr. Monroe, I promise you, Keene will face consequences," he says. "I'll make sure of it." "I'm not looking for revenge, Captain," Elias replies. "I want something bigger than one man's punishment. I want change." Shaw's jaw hardens. "Then you'll have both," he says. "I swear this won't get swept under a rug. Not this time." The waiting room doors open. 2 plainclothes investigators step inside, badges hanging from lanyards. Internal affairs. "Captain," one says, "we need your statement when you're ready." Shaw glances at Elias. "Doctor, if you're willing, we'll need yours too." Elias thinks of Maya and Jordan, of every kid who will grow up walking into the same minefields he did. "Yes," he says. "But first, I need to check on Marilyn." He heads toward the ICU, toward the woman whose life he refused to let prejudice claim. Behind him, he hears Shaw's voice climb as he speaks to the detectives. "Former officer Daniel Keene racially profiled Dr. Monroe," he says. "He obstructed emergency care, used force without justification, and jeopardized my wife's life." The words follow Elias down the corridor like the first strikes of a gavel. Accountability has officially entered the room. Dawn seeps over Atlanta a few hours later, painting the skyline in pale orange. By 7 a.m., local news anchors are leading with the same breaking story. Renowned heart surgeon detained while racing to save police captain's wife. The attorney's roadside video uploads overnight and detonates across social media. It shows everything: Keene's posture, his mocking tone, the shove. Elias standing with hands raised, calm and composed, an obvious professional treated like a suspect. Comments flood in by the thousands, then tens of thousands. "This is exactly why we keep filming." "Imagine dying because a cop couldn't picture a black doctor," one reads. By 9 a.m., Justice Ford Monroe trends nationwide. The clip racks up millions of views. Medical associations weigh in quickly. The American College of Cardiology issues a statement of support. Harvard Med posts, "We stand with alumnus Dr. Elias Monroe, whose integrity honors our profession." Over 250 physicians in the Atlanta area sign an open letter in the city's major paper. Dr. Monroe's ordeal is not an isolated incident, they write. Black clinicians endure discrimination daily. This must end. At noon, Memorial Grace holds a press conference. The hospital's CEO steps to the podium, cameras crowding the lobby. Dr. Monroe isn't just an outstanding surgeon, she says. He is essential to this community. What occurred last night is indefensible, the CEO continues. We demand a thorough, transparent investigation. Behind her, the entire cardiac service lines up. Doctors in white coats, nurses in patterned scrubs, techs in hospital blue, all standing shoulder to shoulder. At Atlanta PD headquarters, Shaw sits with internal affairs in a cramped interview room. "Captain, walk us through exactly what you witnessed on I-85, the lead investigator says, setting a recorder between them. Shaw's voice is steady but weighted. "I watched Keene ignore clear credentials and a medical emergency," he says. "I heard him mock Dr. Monroe, treat his call to duty like a joke. I saw him shove a compliant, unarmed citizen while my wife's life bled away." Officer Hart corroborated this, the investigator asks. "Yes," Shaw answers. "She tried to intervene several times. He ordered her to back off." "Are you aware of Keene's prior complaint history?" the investigator asks. Shaw's jaw clenches. 17 civilian complaints, 12 from people of color, most resolved as unsubstantiated or downgraded, he says. "Why weren't those properly investigated? That's what I intend to find out. My wife nearly died because warning signs were ignored." In another room, Hart gives her own recorded statement, detailed and damning. "Keene targets black drivers more aggressively," she says. "He assumes guilt first, asks questions later, if at all." "Why didn't you report this pattern sooner?" the investigator asks. Hart swallows. "I was scared," she admits. "Afraid of retaliation, of being iced out," she lifts her gaze. "But last night, a woman almost died. I can't stay quiet now." She names other officers who've witnessed similar behavior, dates, badge numbers. The pattern stops being rumor and becomes evidence. That afternoon, the State Highway Patrol Commissioner steps to a podium, a wall of flags behind him. "We have reviewed Officer Daniel Keene's record and the video from last night," he says. His expression is grim, effective. Immediately, Mr. Keene is terminated from the department. Reporters shout over one another. Will he face criminal charges? The district attorney is evaluating potential charges as we speak, the commissioner replies. Furthermore, he says, all troopers will undergo mandatory implicit bias and de-escalation training. Body cameras will be required during every traffic stop. A new civilian oversight panel will review complaints. Later, on the courthouse steps, the district attorney announces, "After reviewing the evidence, my office is filing charges against former Officer Keene. Deprivation of rights under color of law, assault, official misconduct, and reckless endangerment. If convicted, he could face significant prison time." Keene is arrested that evening. The same risks that once rested casually near a holstered gun are now cuffed behind his back. The booking photo circulates quickly. No badge, no cruiser, just an orange jumpsuit and a blank stare. 3 days later, Elias stands at a podium beside attorneys from the ACLU. He's traded scrubs for a dark suit and tie, a surgeon addressing a different kind of operating theater. "I didn't file this lawsuit for a settlement," Elias says into the microphones. I filed it for systemic change, for every black professional who's been dismissed, doubted, or endangered because someone refused to see beyond skin. The suit demands sweeping reforms, training, oversight, disciplinary transparency, data tracking on racial disparities. Keene didn't act alone, Elias says. He was empowered by a system that shielded him. We're suing that system, too. 3 months later, the federal trial begins. The courthouse buzzes like a beehive. News vans jam the streets. Commentators frame the case as a litmus test for real reform. Inside, prosecutors play the dash cam video. Jurors watch Keene's contempt, hear his words, see Elias's restraint. Then they watch the bystander's cell phone footage, the shove, the non-threatening posture, Hart's visible discomfort. The narrative of protocol crumbles under captured reality. On the stand, Elias raises his right hand, swears to tell the truth, then sits. Dr. Monroe, how did you feel during that stop? The prosecutor asks. Powerless, he replies. Years of training, thousands of surgeries. And still I was reduced to a stereotype. What weighed on your mind most? My patient, he says. Marilyn Shaw. Every minute lost on that shoulder lowered her odds of surviving. The defense tries to cast Keene as a cautious cop facing uncertainty, but cross-examination and video make that story collapse. Captain Shaw testifies, voice rough. Keene's prejudice nearly made my kids grow up without their mother, he says. It shames the badge I've worn for 30 years. Hart testifies next, describing Keene's history, her attempts to intervene, the culture that discouraged speaking up. Her words land like nails in a coffin. The jury deliberates just 4 hours. When they file back in, the room holds its breath. On the charge of violating civil rights under color of law, how do you find? The foreperson reads. Guilty on assault, guilty on official misconduct, guilty on reckless endangerment, guilty. A ripple of relieved applause breaks out. The judge lets it swell for a moment before calling for order. Keene stares straight ahead, expression carved from stone. 2 weeks later, sentencing. The judge, a black woman in her early 60s, addresses Keene directly. Mr. Keene, she says, your badge came with power and responsibility. You weaponized it against a man whose only offense was existing in your bias. You obstructed life-saving care. You nearly orphaned children. She pauses, eyes unblinking. I sentence you to 18 months in federal custody, followed by 3 years supervised release. You are permanently barred from law enforcement, she continues. You will also pay a substantial fine to a civil rights organization working on police reform. Additionally, this court is ordering the State Patrol to implement comprehensive bias training, mandatory body cameras, and independent review of complaints. The gavel falls. Outside, reporters swarm. Elias stands with Laura at his side. This verdict doesn't erase what happened, he says, but it sends a message. Prejudice in uniform has consequences, Elias tells the microphones. A life almost ended on that highway, not because of crime, but because of disbelief. We can't accept that as normal. He squeezes Laura's hand, then steps away from the cameras. There's still charting to finish, patients to see, surgeries to prep. The headlines will fade, he thinks, but the work can't. Tomorrow's schedule waits, indifferent to today's courtroom drama. 6 months later, Memorial Grace's main auditorium ohms with conversation. Grand rounds. Medical students pack the seats. Residents line the walls. Nurses slip in along the back. Today's presenter, Dr. Elias Monroe. The title slide behind him reads, Emergent Repair of Type A Aortic Dissection, the Marilyn Shaw Case. He walks them through the imaging, the intraoperative decisions, the pharmacologic juggling act, voice steady and clinical. A masterclass in crisis management. A student in the front row raises her hand. The timeline shows a 32-minute delay before you reach the OR, she says. How did that change your approach? The room stills. External circumstances significantly reduced her odds of survival, Elias says. We adjusted accordingly. Surgeons don't get to choose the moment the world fails our patients. We adapt anyway. He doesn't say police stop. He doesn't need to. Everyone knows. Afterward, Elias returns to his office. Afternoon sunlight spills over stacks of journals and neatly ordered case files. A photo of Laura, Maya, and Jordan smiles down from the bookshelf. A soft knock at the door. Come in, he calls. Marilyn steps inside. She's 70 now, not 60, but moving with the ease of someone whose heart holds steady. Hope I'm not interrupting, doctor, she says, lifting a basket. Never an interruption, he replies, standing. How are you feeling? Fantastic. Thanks to you, she says. These are from my kitchen. Cookies. My grandkids helped. The smell of chocolate and butter fills the room. Grandkids now? He asks. 3. The youngest just turned 1. She laughs softly. I got to hold her in the delivery room, Dr. Monroe, because you wouldn't give up on me. They sit, sharing cookies and quiet gratitude. I've been speaking at community forums, Marilyn says, about that night, about bias, about how close I came to not being here. That takes courage, Elias says. It takes necessity, she answers. Len, well, Deputy Chief Shaw now, has overhauled entire sections of the department. New policies, real consequences. She hesitates, but it shouldn't have required my almost death to spark change. No, Elias agrees softly. It shouldn't have. I want you to know something, Marilyn adds. I'm grateful not just that you saved me, but for how you handled everything after. You could have let fury consume you. Instead, you used it. Elias considers this. I was furious, he admits. I still am some days. But anger without direction just burns. I aim mine at teaching, advocacy, pushing so the next surgeon doesn't face what I did. She nods, eyes misty. After she leaves a hug and the basket behind, Elias sits alone for a moment. His mind drifts back to the frozen shoulder of I-85, the flashlight beam, the humiliation. He thinks of Keene, now inmate number something, tasting powerlessness in a different uniform. He thinks of the 40-plus officers flagged in the subsequent audit, disciplined or fired for patterns long ignored. A rotten structure finally forced into the light. He thinks of Hart, still on the force, now helping lead trainings on intervention and bias, teaching younger officers how to step in before things break. He thinks of Shaw, Deputy Chief Shaw, leveraging his rank to reshape protocols, open complaint files, demand data. Change moves slowly, Elias knows, but it moves. His phone buzzes. A text from Laura. Maya told her counselor she wants to be a doctor. She said, like my dad. Elias smiles down at the screen, thumbs a reply. Tell her I'm proud. Tell her she can be whatever she wants, he types. He imagines Maya in a white coat someday, walking halls that judge her on skill, not skin. He imagines Jordan arguing case law instead of basketball stats. If that's the path he chooses, the future won't be flawless. He knows. But maybe it will be kinder because people refuse to stay silent. He stands and looks out his office window. Atlanta stretches in every direction. Millions of lives, millions of stories, most of them never televised. He thinks of all the hearts he's restarted, the families he's kept whole, the ones he lost despite everything. That's what matters, he decides. Not the viral fame, not the notoriety, not the lawsuits payout. The lives, and always the lives. His pager chirps, breaking his thoughts. Another emergency consult, another heart in trouble, another family holding its collective breath. Elias shrugs on his coat and heads for the elevator. This is the work, he reminds himself, saving lives in spite of obstacles, sometimes because of them. The elevator doors slide shut. His reflection looks back, tired, older, but unbroken. He rides down toward the ER, toward another crisis, another chance to choose skill over bitterness, purpose over resentment. On some level, he knows the I-85 story will keep circulating, in classrooms, in trainings, on social feeds. People will argue in comment sections, share think pieces, cite it in policy debates. But for him, it's just one chapter in a longer story. The story of a black surgeon who refused to let someone else's bias dictate who lived and who died. The doors open. Voices, monitors, urgency spill in. He steps out. If this story reached you, the narrator might say, share it, talk about it, ask hard questions at your dinner table, your workplace, your city council meetings. Have you or someone you love been misjudged, sidelined, or endangered because of how you look, where you're from, what you sound like? Your experience matters. Your voice matters. Follow more stories from channels like Blackline Stories that spotlight justice, reform, and the people who push systems to change. Because every repost, every conversation, every uncomfortable truth aired out in public adds weight to the scale, the narrator continues. Here's the question you have to drag into the light. That night on I-85, Officer Keene saw a black man in a Mercedes, an assumed thief. He saw a badge, an assumed fake. He heard about a dying woman and assumed a lie. His imagination couldn't stretch to include a black chief surgeon. He never considered that his prejudice might cost someone their whole world. If Keene had stopped a white cardiologist that night, same car, same credentials, would Marilyn's odds have been better? Would her surgery have started 30 minutes earlier? Would her husband have been spared those hours of hell? Think about that, the narrator urges. Think about all the Marilyns who don't get a miracle ending, whose stories stop in the waiting room. Think about the doctors, nurses, teachers, pilots, lawyers whose expertise is second-guessed before they even speak because bias got there first. Think about the kids who learn early that excellence won't always protect them. Then decide what sort of world you intend to help build. One where prejudice is normal background noise, or one where it's challenged whenever it shows up, especially when it hides behind badges, titles, and policies. In this story, Dr. Elias Monroe chose composure over explosion, accountability over vengeance. Marilyn chose to speak up instead of shrinking back into the comfort of survival. Deputy Chief Shaw chose to tear into his own institution instead of defending it blindly. None of them were perfect. None of them owed the world their grace. But they offered it anyway and demanded better in return. The narrator lets that hang in the air. So what will you choose? The voice asks. When you see someone being written off because of their name, their accent, their neighborhood, will you look away or will you say something? When a joke leans on stereotype, Will you laugh along or push back? When policies punish the same groups over and over, will you shrug or organize? Change doesn't happen in press conferences alone. It happens in everyday choices. Every traffic stop where an officer pauses to interrogate their own assumptions. Every hiring decision where a manager looks beyond their comfort zone. Every hospital corridor where a parent sees a black doctor and thinks, "Of course." Not really. The I-85 night became a catalyst because people refused to let it fade, because a video rolled, because a surgeon spoke, because a captain listened. That combination won't fix everything, but it moves the needle. Elias walks into another trauma bay, gloving up as nurses brief him. Someone's father, brother, sister lies on the gurney. Fear looks the same in every pair of eyes, he's learned. It doesn't care about color or credentials. He leans over the patient, introduces himself, feels the blood pulsing beneath his fingers. That's the real work, the narrator reminds us. Not the headlines, not the hashtags. They heartbeat under a surgeon's hand. Atlanta thrums outside. Sirens, laughter, arguments, music spilling from open car windows. Millions of quiet acts of decency and cruelty, courage and cowardice, happening at once. In one operating room, a black surgeon keeps fighting for inches of life. Years from now, Maya and Jordan will know this story in full. They'll know their father refused to shrink. They'll decide what battles are theirs to pick up. The world they inherit depends partly on us. If you've stayed with this story this long, the narrator says, let it change something small in you. Ask better questions. Notice your reflexes. Who do you trust automatically? Who do you doubt by default? To challenge that. Talk about Dr. Monroe and Marilyn at work, at school, in your group chats. Share the story from channels that center these realities. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's real and repeating. Because every time you refuse to normalize what happened on that highway, you help make it harder to repeat, the narrator concludes. Dr. Monroe chose to aim his anger instead of letting it devour him. Marilyn turned survival into advocacy. Deputy Chief Shaw used his grief as kindling for reform. Their choices won't end in justice, but they widen the path for everyone coming after. That path is ours to walk, widen, and guard. So the next time you see flashing lights in your mirror or watch a video of a stop gone wrong, remember this night on I-85, this surgeon, this family, this almost tragedy turned catalyst. Remember that systems are made of people and people can decide to do better. The choice won't always be easy. It will always be necessary. The question is never just what happened, but what will we do with what we've seen? Somewhere in memorial grace, Marilyn sleeps under a soft monitor glow, her heart repaired, her future extended. Down the hall, Elias moves toward his next case, another life waiting on his hands. Outside, reforms inch forward, pushed by voices that refuse to quiet down. The story isn't neat. Progress never is, but it's moving, and so are we, if we choose to be. What will you do with this story now? Will you scroll past, or will you share it? Will you shrug, or will you start a conversation? Will you dismiss it as just a story, or recognize it as a mirror held up to the world we live in? Every choice adds up. Every voice joins a chorus. Dr. Elias Monroe did his part on that freezing December night. Marilyn did hers. Shaw did his. The rest, that's on all of us. When bias blocks the road to life. If you're in your late 60s or 70s, you've seen America change more than once. You remember segregated lunch counters, black and white news of marches and fire hoses, the long, painful climb towards civil rights. That history sits in the background of Dr. Elias Monroe's night on I-85. Here is a man who did everything this country ever told him to do. Studied, sacrificed, trained his hands until they could open a human chest and give a stranger more years with their grandchildren. Yet when the blue lights flashed in his rearview mirror, none of that mattered. To Officer Keene, he was not a chief heart surgeon, not a husband on call, not a neighbor racing to the hospital. He was just boy in a Mercedes, a problem to be put in his place. Many of you know that sting. You've had clerks ignore you, officers talk down to you, doctors dismiss your concerns. But what makes this story so chilling is what was at stake. While Keene played power games on the shoulder of the interstate, a woman's aorta was tearing open across town. Every unnecessary minute on that cold roadside was a minute stolen from her future. For older Americans who have waited in ERs and prayed in hospital chapels, that reality hits hard. Bias isn't just rude or unfair, it can be deadly, even when the victim is nowhere near the flashing lights. Courage, accountability, and the power of saying no more. Another truth many elders understand is that wrong only changes when someone is finally willing to pay the price of telling the truth. Think about Captain Shaw, a man old enough to have gray at his temples, suddenly hearing that the dying woman on the table is his own wife, Marilyn. In that instant, every excuse, every "that's just how it is," collapses. He realizes his department's blind spot almost cost him the love of his life. He could have circled the wagons, protected the badge, called it a tragic misunderstanding. Instead, he did something your generation knows well from hard times and hard fights. He told the truth, even when it cut close to home. He took Keene's badge and gun on the spot. He sat with internal affairs and laid out the ugly record of complaints that had been brushed aside. Officer Hart, the younger partner, found her own courage, finally saying out loud what she had only whispered before. Many of you have stood at similar crossroads, at union meetings, church boards, neighborhood councils, deciding whether to go along quietly or speak up. This story reminds us that accountability isn't an attack on the good ones. It's a lifeline for all of us, including honest officers whose work is tainted when abuse goes unchecked. Turning pain into legacy for our children and grandchildren. By the time the lawsuit is filed, the news cameras move on, and Keene is convicted. Many might be tempted to say, "Well, that's over." Those of us with gray hair know better. Nothing is over if the lessons don't outlive the headlines. Dr. Monroe had every reason to retreat into anger or exhaustion. Instead, he chose a path that older Americans will recognize as the long road. Steady, stubborn, patient work. He testified in court not just for himself, but for every black professional who has ever been doubted on sight. He pushed for body cameras that can't be switched off, for public reporting of stop data, for promotion standards that reward respect, not just arrest numbers. Marilyn, now a grandmother, decided her survival would not be a private blessing. She speaks in church halls and community centers, telling anyone who will listen that she is alive because one black doctor refused to give up and because, finally, a leader in uniform listened. If you are over 65, you may be asking what kind of country you will leave behind. This story offers both a warning and a charge. The warning: even the most accomplished among us are not safe from prejudice. The charge: your voice, your vote, Your stories around the dinner table still matter. Like Elias, like Marilyn, like Shaw, you can help turn personal pain into a safer highway, a fairer hospital, and a more honest justice system for the generations following behind you. Friends, after walking through what happened to Dr. Monroe, Marilyn, and Captain Shaw, I'd truly love to hear from you. Have you ever been misjudged or watched someone you love be treated unfairly because of the way they look, what they drive, or the neighborhood they come from? If you were standing on that highway shoulder or waiting in that hospital family room, what would you hope people, officers, and leaders would do differently? Please share your thoughts in the comments. Hit like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so together we can keep learning, speaking up, and building a fairer country.